Didier Drogba is a Chelsea legend who will forever be a cult hero at Stamford Bridge. In November 2012, a poll of 20,000 fans by Chelsea magazine voted Drogba as the Blues' greatest player of all time. Now, I think that might have had something to do with the timing, coming just after Drogba's pivotal role in Chelsea's Champions League glory, but nevertheless, he is undoubtedly among the West Londoners' finest servants. Although Drogba only had 2 spectacularly prolific seasons, he was a player for the big occasions. A leader from the front, Drogba stepped up when Chelsea needed him most, and there have been few finer big game players in the history of the sport. Last week, I took a look at every Newcastle United striker since Alan Shearer. 2 weeks ago, I made a video looking at every Arsenal striker since Thierry Henry, and this week, I'm taking a much requested look at every centre-forward to have played for Chelsea since Didier Drogba left the club. So if there are any other teams and players you'd like to see featured in this series in the future, should you wish to see it continued at all, feel free to let me know in the comments. Oh, and also, I should point out that this is every striker since Didier Drogba first left Chelsea in 2012, not from his second departure in 2015. There are 17 strikers in total, rather than the 37 that we had to contend with the Newcastle video, so I should be able to go into a tiny bit more detail with each. Here is every Chelsea striker since Didier Drogba. Where are they now? Fernando Torres, retired. Fernando Torres spent just 18 months playing alongside Chelsea legend Didier Drogba, having joined the Blues for a then British record transfer fee of £50 million from Liverpool in January 2011. A lot has been made of Torres' famous Anfield departure, with some having described him as one of the biggest flops of all time. Certainly, the Spaniard's goal-scoring record in the capital, and particularly in the Premier League, was very underwhelming for a £50 million signing. However, Torres played a crucial role in Chelsea winning both the Champions League and the Europa League, and some Blues fans would argue that his 2012 strike against Barcelona was worth £50 million on its own. Torres left the Bridge in 2015, returning to his boyhood club Atletico Madrid, where he spent 3 seasons, before finally ending his career in 2019 following a season in Japan. Demba Ba, Istanbul Başakşehir. Demba Ba only spent 2 seasons with Chelsea as a squad player, having arrived from Newcastle United for a bargain £7 million, and he only scored 14 goals for the Blues. One of those goals, in which he capitalised on a Steven Gerrard slip to score at Anfield, has become an iconic Premier League moment and may well go down as his most famous moment on a football pitch. That was exactly 6 years ago to the day of me making this video, and the 34-year-old Senegalese marksman now plays for Turkish Super League side Istanbul Başakşehir, as anyone who watched last week's video on every Newcastle striker since Shearer will be well aware. Daniel Sturridge, free agent. The first 3 inclusions in this video all have strong ties to Liverpool, and whilst Torres went from Anfield to Stamford Bridge, Daniel Sturridge followed the opposite path. Chelsea always knew Sturridge was a talent, but by January 2013, he had grown frustrated at a lack of opportunities and joined Liverpool for £12 million. Sturridge's first 18 months at Liverpool were evidence of his enormous talent, but Sturridge has since had a nightmare time with injuries. He most recently had a brief stint in Turkey with Trabzonspor, but that ended abruptly, with the 30-year-old being handed a worldwide 4-month ban from football, which saw his contract terminated. Samuel Eto'o, retired. Didier Drogba and Samuel Eto'o are arguably the 2 greatest African footballers of all time, and both have donned the famous blue of Chelsea. Unlike Drogba, Eto'o didn't spend his peak years at the Bridge, and he famously mocked Jose Mourinho, who had questioned his age during his time with the club, while celebrating a goal. Eto'o spent a season at Chelsea, scoring 12 goals in 35 games, followed by moves to Everton, Sampdoria, Antalyaspor, Konyaspor, and Qatar SC. He retired in 2019, aged 38. Romelu Lukaku, Inter Milan. A little like Daniel Sturridge, although to an even greater extent, Chelsea always knew that they had a serious talent on their hands in Romelu Lukaku. The Belgian international had 2 sensational seasons on loan at West Brom and Everton whilst contracted to the club, but without the assurance of first-team football, he pushed for a move in 2014. Unsurprisingly, Lukaku continued to score prolifically following a permanent move to Everton, and that was followed by a £75 million switch to Manchester United. Lukaku's time in Manchester was more of a mixed bag, but he has been scoring goals for fun once again since joining Inter Milan last summer. Loic Remy, Lille. French international Loic Remy joined Chelsea in 2014 from Queen's Park Rangers, and he spent 3 years contracted to the club. A little like Demba Ba, Remy arrived off the back of an excellent season at St James's Park, and also like Ba, those of you who watched our Newcastle video already know perfectly well what he is up to now. The 33-year-old, who did a decent job as an impact player at Chelsea, returned to France in 2018 and has been with Lille ever since. Diego Costa, Atletico Madrid. Brazilian-born Spanish international Diego Costa is probably the closest Chelsea have come to replacing Didier Drogba in terms of an aggressive, dominant focal point of their attack. Costa joined the Blues in 2014 from Atletico Madrid, and there was rarely a dull moment while he was on the pitch. Costa kicked, elbowed and antagonised his way to becoming a Chelsea favourite, whilst being utterly despised by just about everyone else. His goals fired the Blues to 2 Premier League titles, but in 2017 he dug in his heels and demanded a return to Atletico. Costa eventually got his wish, and the 31-year-old has been reunited with Diego Simeone ever since. Dominic Solanki, Bournemouth. Few players have starred as brilliantly in the youth team game yet struggled so spectacularly in the senior game as Dominic Solanki, whose performances in Chelsea's youth ranks led Jose Mourinho to state boldly that if Solanki didn't become a full England international on his watch, then he was a failure. Solanki didn't win a cap under Jose's watch, but he did win one and only one shortly after his move to Liverpool. Solanki joined Liverpool after his Chelsea contract expired, with the Reds paying Chelsea £3 million as set by a tribunal, but Liverpool made a big profit when they sold the centre-forward at Bournemouth for £19 million. Solanki has since scored 1 goal in 37 games, and has really struggled to get a foothold in the senior game. Ziya Brown, Luton Town. The first player in this video who is still contracted to Chelsea, Ziya Brown joined the Blues from West Bromwich Albion in 2013. He has since registered just 1 appearance, but it only takes 1 appearance to be eligible for a place in this video. The versatile 23-year-old forward has since had a string of loan moves and 1 terrible injury, and he was spending the current season on loan at Luton Town prior to the EFL being suspended. Radamel Falcao, Galatasaray. One of the finest centre-forwards of his generation during his 2 seasons with Atletico Madrid. Unfortunately for Chelsea, it wasn't that Radamel Falcao that they got to see at the Bridge. The Blues took Falcao on a lucrative season-long loan after he had suffered an ACL injury and had suffered a torrid campaign on loan at Manchester United. Jose Mourinho obviously felt he could get a tune out of the Colombian, but he could not, with Falcao scoring just once in only 12 appearances. The 34-year-old later rediscovered his form at Monaco, and last summer he joined Turkish Super League outfit Galatasaray. Alexandre Pato, Sao Paulo. Another footballer who was really rather special at his peak, but a peak that Chelsea fans never got anywhere near. Anyone who witnessed Alexandre Pato during his early years at AC Milan knows just what a special talent he was. Unfortunately, Pato suffered a string of injury nightmares, and it wasn't until 2016 that he made a rather surprising loan move to Stamford Bridge. Pato scored once in 2 appearances during his brief stay at the club, but Chelsea decided not to make the move a permanent one, and the 30-year-old is now playing alongside the likes of Dani Alves and Juan Fran at Sao Paulo. Tammy Abraham, Chelsea. A surprisingly early inclusion in this video by virtue of the fact that his Chelsea debut came in the 2015-16 season, most people would consider the current 2019-20 campaign to be Abraham's breakout season at the Bridge. Abraham previously had an excellent season on loan at Bristol City, a difficult season on loan at Swansea City, and another very impressive stint on loan at Aston Villa last season. Frank Lampard hung his hat on Abraham as his first choice centre-forward this season, and the 22-year-old has largely repaid that faith, bagging 15 goals in 34 outings. Michy Batshuayi, Chelsea. The second consecutive current Chelsea striker in this video, one suspects that may not be the case for long. Michy Batshuayi arrived at Stamford Bridge from Marseille in 2016 following plenty of interest, and the Belgian may regret his decision to pick the Blues. Batshuayi has never been a regular at Stamford Bridge, scoring 25 goals in 77 games in total, and one would be surprised if he was still at the club in 12 months' time. Alvaro Morata, Atletico Madrid. Alvaro Morata arrived in West London from Madrid and departed in a return to Madrid, joining the club from Real and returning for Atletico. A tall and technically gifted number 9, Morata set the Blues back a whopping £60 million, but he never quite seemed to adjust to the pace of the Premier League. Chelsea had been used to the aggression and physicality of Diego Costa, and Morata was never that type of player. He left the club on an 18-month loan deal to Atletico in January 2019, and that move will become a permanent one this summer. Olivier Giroud, Chelsea. If you had asked me a couple of months or even weeks ago, I probably would have put Olivier Giroud in a similar position to Michy Batshuayi, inasmuch as I felt he would most likely lead the club this summer. He still might, of course, but recent reports suggest Giroud is on the verge of signing a 1-year contract extension at the Bridge. Signed from Arsenal in January 2018, Giroud has scored 21 goals in 76 games for the Blues. Whilst rarely the most prolific, Giroud provides an excellent foil for those around him, and in the absence of Tammy Abraham, Frank Lampard was reportedly delighted with his professionalism and contribution. Gonzalo Higuain, Juventus. A Chelsea player for all of 4 months, Gonzalo Higuain joined the Blues in January 2019 on loan from Juventus. Whilst obviously a very talented centre-forward, Higuain came in with no pre-season, no time to gel, and no time to adapt to life in the Premier League. All those factors contributed to a modest tally of just 5 goals in 19 games during his half-season in the English game, and Higuain has since returned to Turin. Armando Berardi, Chelsea. The final name in this list, many non-Chelsea fans may not yet have heard of Armando Berardi. Born in England to Albanian parents, Berardi joined the Chelsea youth ranks from Tottenham's at the age of 7. A big young lad, standing at 6'3" at the age of 18, Berardi is an industrious and athletic centre-forward. He signed his first professional contract with the Blues in February 2020, and his first and only competitive appearance for the club came in March 2020, when he replaced Olivier Giroud as a late substitute in a 4-0 win against Everton. That's it for today's video. Thank you all for tuning in, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and as always, make sure that you are subscribed to HITC Sevens.